Check it out. Today we're learning how you could make a cool, low-budget, DIY branded logo for your YouTube setup or your business using foam core, spackle, carpenter's glue, and some spray paint. Coming up right after the intro. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mike Mandigo. This is Passion Video Productions. On this channel, we talk video production tips as well as tutorials, and we also talk camera gear. And now we're doing a little bit of DIY for personal branding as well. So if that's something that's of interest to you, consider subscribing and hitting that little bell to be notified when we drop the more future videos. So in order for me to create the blueprint this size, I needed to print the logo on 4 pieces of paper, and I did that on the Microsoft Paint program. I needed the blueprint to fit within the bounds of a piece of foam core. The best way to cut the foam core, they said, is not to have it right like at a high angle, but you want it more like a wider degree of an angle that will help you to get smooth cuts through the foam core and not get little bits of styrofoam breaking off. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this yet, but I came up with a few rough ideas of how I can start it. And then once I've started from there, I'm going to figure it out along the way. And that's kind of like one thing that I've learned through life. So I started making my YouTube channel in 2021, and my first YouTube setup was in my bedroom, and I liked that setup. It was good. I liked what I did there for a bit. I don't know if anybody of you have a YouTube channel yourself, you kind of grow and evolve over time. I wanted to create certain kind of content, and I was having trouble doing it in the space that I was already creating in. Like, I had done some sound dampening. I put foam on the ceiling, so when I would try to like bounce light off the ceiling to get a different style of a shot, like a brighter shot, I was having a hard time lighting that room effectively, which led to the idea of transferring the studio to where it is now. Now, the next thing I need to do is trace a black circle onto here. Art was one of my favorite subjects growing up. I don't draw and do like arts and crafts as much as I used to. I guess I kind of like just transferred to a new form of art, which would be through creating videos and taking photos. Grateful for the gift that I was given, the talent. That's the first circle. So I watched a video where this guy was showing how it could be done effectively to cut circles. And it looked like he was doing it. He would cut around just under a quarter of a circle in each turn. You can only make the blade turn so much because it's straight, right? So, okay, so we're halfway through. And the method that this guy explained for cutting is working effectively. The next thing I need to do is figure out the circumference of this circle. I think I could do that with a piece of rope, approximately 41 inches. So I think I'll do it in 2 equal sized. So 41 inches will be 20 and a half. It's very important to have these the same width and the same height. When the next piece gets placed on top, we want it to sit level. And if it's one piece is higher than the other, that's not gonna happen for us. The next thing to do is get rid of this scrap off the top of the table here. Just place it in a pile off to the side. So now that I'm scoring these, what I want to do is I want to cut just through the top layer of paper, and I want to go through about halfway. I want to be careful not to go all the way. And what that's going to do, it's going to, as I make these cuts all the way down here, it's going to allow this. Right now, the thing is kind of stiff and you can't bend it. And if you do bend it, it's going to break and put a bend in it. And it's not going to be smooth. Scoring these lines in the back is going to allow us to take this and wrap it around the edge of this this contour. So tell me in the comments what you guys are doing for personal branding. What have you guys done so far? Have you got t-shirts made? Have you got a logo made? Have you just came up with the concept? What are you working on for your brand, and how are you showcasing your brand? Okay, so we got the first one done, complete. So one of the things that I'm going to have to do is make some braces. Because I didn't make my circles perfectly symmetrical, I traced them by hands. There's a chance that they might not line up properly if I just cut them, do a random cut. One way to help reduce that is to like label it. That way, when my piece is cut out, I know how to position it on top when I want to glue it. So the next step is going to be to glue it and tape it and let it dry. So I have a piece of wood that I'm going to put on top of my table, just because I don't want the glue seeping down onto this tabletop here. This is also going to give me a flat, level surface for me to glue this on. It's not going to be crooked as well when the glue dries. So I'm going to be using a few things while I'm gluing this together. I have some blue disposable rags for wiping up any excessive glue. I'm going to be using some Gorilla wooden carpenter's glue, a piece of cardboard just in case I need to put the glue onto there, and some popsicle sticks as well in case I need to spread the glue around. Take the top off first, take the frame out, and we'll start by gluing the outside border to the base. So for now, I'm going to take this apart. I have it taped together just to hold it in place. And I think I'm going to keep it taped for now, trying to run a little bead of glue right down the middle, giving it enough room that when I apply the outside border to it, it should have room to spread out and hold. Almost complete. So now I'm going to apply this piece on and tape it on to keep it in place. So right now I'm taking this blue rag and I'm going to wipe off any excess of glue, and that's going to prevent it from sticking to the top of the piece of wood here. Now I can push it down flat and make sure it's square. Now we're ready to place this frame inside of the base. So now we have the frame glued with the perimeter as well onto the base. I noticed that the one section where it's taped together is lifting up a little bit, so I'm going to press it down and try to put some more carpenter's tape on top of that and see if that will help to hold it there. We'll take one more piece and we'll do it on the other side just for safe measures. I noticed that this one piece is sticking up a little bit past the top of where it's leveled. I'm going to get a piece of sandpaper and see if I can take this piece off and get it leveled to where I need it to be. All right, that seemed to do the trick. So the next step is going to be to put some glue along the edges of this border and the frame inside as well, and then glue the lid onto this platform. This is going to be the next piece now to get traced on the white foam core. Okay, so I just rolled some green carpenter's tape and I put it on the back of the blueprint, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to help this from moving around while I trace it onto the foam core. All right, so now I'm going to work slowly and carefully. I'm going to cut this excess border, excess of foam core away from the outside of the letter P. So we got the first one out. The next thing is going to be to create the border that's going to go around the outside of this edge. So it looks like I'm going to be able to do this all in one strip. So I have this tape here folded back a bit, and as I run this piece of the border around, I'm going to tape it down. I'm hoping that's going to help it so it keeps to shape. We'll see how it goes. So the next thing that I need to do is measure how deep it is in between the base of this to the top of this, and then I'm going to make the braces that are going to go inside here as well. Got the bottom base of the first letter P with the outside border trim with the frame inside, and I have the cover glued on now as well. So what I'm going to do is put this off to the side, and I'm going to put something on top of it till it dries. So this is what it's looking like now. I got some high gloss spray paint I'm going to hit it with. It's going to look real nice. So I started to sand it down a little bit with the sandpaper. Next thing you know, I kind of got carried away when I realized that I probably should have been recording and documenting that progress. I tried to fill in some of the holes and the cracks with spackle. Well, so far it seems to be working as far as filling in the holes and not crumbling out. Just have to be careful about how hard I push down on it when I'm sanding. I don't want it to totally let loose. This is not a fucking Friday night party where we're kicking back. So now that I have some of the edges sanded down some more, you've kind of seen a little bit of the process that I did to get it to this in the first place. At first, I took the utility knife and then I cut a tiny little corner off of the edge. After I cut that piece all the way around the trim, I then used the sandpaper and began shaping it from there. It's all set to go to be painted. The next piece to finish off now is this white letter P. I had to fill in a couple little edges as well, like some of the cracks and some of the parts where the styrofoam broke out, so I'm going to sand that down. Kind of got carried away a little bit and took out a little bit more of a piece than what I wanted to, but I could fill it in with a little bit of spackle right now. The next thing for me to do now is to take this letter P and to cut out the red portion. I'm still debating on how thick that I want this letter P to rise above the white letter P that's already there. Set these pieces aside for later. These are going to be our aperture blades or the iris. And so the same thing, I'm going to take a little bit of this carpenter's tape, and then I'm going to tape this down to the board. It's going to make it a little bit easier for me. Who doesn't like it when life's a little bit easier? Slap the like button if you agree. Next, we're going to take this pencil, trace this out. Okay, now to cut out this piece. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another one of these the exact same, and I'll just glue it together. And that's about as thick as I'll do it. Then after it's dried, I'll sand the edges down. All right, so I have all my pieces set next to start gluing these. I have 12 iris blades, and then I have these two inside of the letter P. They're going to be the red part of the letter P. I want the glue to spread across the whole top of the surface. That way it ensures that it's going to get a proper stick. After I have these irises complete, I'm going to place the wood on top of it and let it dry for a little bit. So all of these pieces that we just glued together are now completely dry. The next thing for me to do now is to cut out the white border trim to make a blueprint of that, and then to cut that out of the foam core and create the border. How are you guys when you're cutting with scissors? I know sometimes it's a challenge for me. Let me know in the comments how it is for you when you're cutting scissors. When you're cutting with scissors. So that's done. The next step will be to take some carpenter's tape and roll it up and put it along here and tape it onto the foam core. Trace the blueprint onto the foam core to be cut out. When I was 12, I didn't know the etiquette for using utility knives, and I made a mistake, and I was cutting towards myself, and a knife slipped, and I cut into my wrist. I had to go to the emergency and get stitches. So just a word of caution. If you're using a knife that's sharp, for the most part, cut away from yourself. and be cautious. If you have to cut towards yourself, be very cautious. Turned out pretty good. So I didn't really explain what I was doing here for anybody that doesn't know. I'm taking this ruler and I'm measuring it at the 1/2 inch mark, and I'm marking little 1/2 inch spots along the length of this. And then I'm going to use those marks as a guide to use the meter stick ruler to create a line to cut with. So what I'm going to need to do next is score the lines in these 4 strips. Actually, I need to measure these out to their length of 22 inches. I think that's what it was. Yeah, 22 inches, and then score the lines. So let me know if you have a YouTube channel yourself. Are you creating content for a YouTube channel, or do you create content for a company that you work for? All right, we got the four pieces all set to go. So I think for now what I'm gonna do is just tape it. That seems to be working. I have the inside and the outside of this trim placed and glued. There's some spaces along the edges that are cracks where you can see that it's not sealed together with glue. So I'm gonna fill those in, and hopefully that will help to strengthen it. And when it comes time to sand it, it's not gonna fall apart. Now I want to set this off to the side. I still have to glue this top piece onto this, but I want to wait till this glue from the border dries a bit and keeps its shape. Now I'm going to sand this down and shape the edges, get it ready to be painted. Actually, I think I need to cut off the corners, a little bit of the corners first. So as you can see here, I'm just taking off the tiny little sliver off the corner, basically helping to kind of give it like a rounded edge, a rough rounded edge. And what I'm going to do after is take the sandpaper and help to finish that off. So I believe I got this piece sanded down to as much as I want to have it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that spackle and I'm going to fill in the little spots, the cracks and stuff like that. Now the next step is to wait for these pieces to dry. So I completed the sanding, and then that night I painted, I believe, the first 2 coats. In the morning I hit it with a few more coats as well, and then I let it dry. It's been drying now for just over 24 hours. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to put LEDs behind it or not somehow. If I do, what I'm going to do is figure out a way that I can raise it a little bit. I'll put some kind of a platform underneath it, and then that way I'll be able to put there'll be a gap between the wall for the LED to glow. So right now I'm going to get ready to start gluing this. I want to be careful to make a nice clean bead. I don't want it too wide where it's not going to spread out and come bubbling out the sides. I'm going to try that now. The spray paint kind of was a little bit sticky still, so I didn't have to reposition these again. The paint kind of helped it stay in place. Oh darn, got glue on my sweater. Whoops. Start wiping it with the glue rag. The good thing about working with the Carpenter wood glue is it doesn't set right away. You got a little bit of playtime to move it around before it actually fully sets. Just need to try to be quick about it. I want to hold it down so it's going to have a good seal on here. So the project turned out to be a success. As far as how the quality of it turned out, I think it really looks, my goal was for it to kind of have this ideal look. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this project. Thanks for following along with the process while I created this do-it-yourself branded logo for my new YouTube studio setup. If you're interested in checking out some more videos that I have on the channel, you could check out one of these videos here, or you could check out this video right here for one that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. All right, take care, guys.